and then about an hour's worth of lab. But remote access security, we've talked about a lot of this already. What we can do, how we can manage remote access with Telnet SSH. AUX, we really hadn't talked about the AUX port designed to allow a user to connect via login versus local login. Login is a password only arrangement when we do that. Potential security risk, single password share with everybody. You don't know who is on when, who did what, whenever anything happened, or that you lost control of the password and somebody that shouldn't be on the system is on the system. You can always lose control of usernames and passwords. Pre-shared keys or pre-shared passwords are really difficult to keep secure. Once they are shared, they kind of eventually are going to get out into the wild when we do these things. But the login local command is the unique username and password, and we've done that on the console line a couple of times just to show that we can do it. We looked at the login local, and then we looked at the methods level a little earlier this morning using the Radius server to do that. So we can specify one or more usernames, passwords, and when we are doing the specifications there, we can also specify a privilege level so that when those users log in with the privilege level, they're immediately taken to that privilege level. What is the real use of privilege levels? We can define them for some of the other levels when we want to assign specific commands to something. You've got to go and assign a bunch of them from one to the other. Just a minute ago, that would allow us the command that would specify something. Anyhow, we can, and again, beyond the scope of CCNA, this is a Cisco document here, but here we have privilege mode level. Set the privilege level for a command. For mode, enter configure, and all those other good things here. For mode, enter configure for global configuration mode. Exec for exec mode, and interface for interface mode, and line for line mode. We have to specify what area we're going in. What can they do? For level, the range is 0 to 15. Level 1 is for normal users. Exec mode privileges, and level 15 is the access permitted by the enable password. So what we would do here, we're in the config enable password level 14 secret password when we do that. That's not right. Here, you got the wrong line. Privilege exec level 14 configure allows them to use the configure command. So it's not just go in and say you get this one, you get that one, you get whatever. It's kind of maybe a convoluted process to do that, but you can set commands to privilege levels so that when you get privilege level 12, you know that the user, the local username and password, the user you've created, can use certain commands and only those commands. The secure password, 2 commands for setting the secure password, the enable password. The no form will not unencrypt, and we did those a little earlier. The enable password stores the password in clear text because the default configuration is no service password encryption. We can encrypt it by using the service password encryption command. Type 7 encryption when we do that. Service password encryption encrypts all the passwords. If we do a no, it's not going to decrypt or unencrypt the existing passwords. It just won't encrypt the remaining passwords that we use. Enable secret encrypts password MD5 hash, not affected by the service password encryption command or the no service password encryption command. It overrides the enable password. If both of them are configured, only the enable secret command can be used to get to the resources. So access devices 2 ways: the source address and the Telnet SSH authenticates the users before allowing them. These can be used together. Obviously, the source address we can filter. What we're talking about is using used to filter the incoming packets upon receipt, writing an access control list. We use the IP access group to on an interface. It's IP access class to apply an access control list to a line, to a VTY line, telnet line. Console, obviously, we're probably not going to do anything with, but we can filter based on, and here the remote users, authenticates the remote users before we allow access. So we can have a username and password. We can also filter using an access control list. Telnet, and again, some of these things we've done already. A protocol enables a TCP/IP terminal emulation connections to a host. We're going to be sending keystrokes. Problem is, when you get to the bottom, problem is it's going to be insecure. It's going to pass the username and password in clear text. To allow the user to, at one site, to establish a TCP connection and log into a server at another site. Access control list. Who can, who can't. And this is the other than just having the usernames and passwords, that's going to help a lot, but which interfaces, which machines, which IP addresses are allowed to access. Maybe we're just going to put in the IP address of the administrator, and then using the implicit deny on the access control list, everybody else will be denied. And we're only going to permit that specific port or all the other ports that may be permitted. But as you can think when you say, oh, well, maybe I made a mess out of that, that means that nobody else is going to be able to get to that particular location to do these things. So how you manage access control lists can accept either an IP address or the domain name as the address for the remote device. The domain name, as long as we have configured a host file or we have a DNS server that can resolve that name to an IP address. Unless you have a really big network, probably IP addresses are as good as any. Telnet server is the device that listens for the commands. The Telnet server is at the destination. The client is on the machine. Windows, the server is disabled by default. You have to go in and configure it if you want to use it. The client, we can telnet from a Windows machine by default. We cannot telnet to a Windows machine by default. You can configure telnet to where the server is running on these things. And the problem, well, we've said many times, telnet passes username and passwords in clear. Anybody that can sniff the network can do that. And now we know that we can use a span port, switch port analyzer, a mirror port. It becomes a situation that, yeah, the switch is really secure, but we're going to have to now keep the switch secure enough so that users can't configure the span port and monitor the traffic on ports that they're not connected to. SSH, the Secure Shell Protocol replacement for Telnet, provides a secure access connection to the networks, and this is the one that we're going to want to use if at all possible. Designed to replace Telnet, encrypts the communication between the client and the server, both SSH version 1 and version 2. They're not compatible with each other. SSH version 1 will accept a weaker key than SSH version 2. Version 1 uses a cyclical redundancy check, CRC32, for communications, and subsequently found as deficient. Version 2 uses Diffie-Hellman encryption algorithm and is more secure. Should be accomplished. We should use SSH version 2 whenever we can. Steps to enable SSH, we're going to configure, and I think we've done this before once before. Host name. We have to have a host name and a DNS domain name. These two elements are used as part of the construction of the key for SSH. And then we're going to generate the SSH key. Crypto key generate RSA. We'll specify the key length when we do this. And when you do this SSH version 2, be sure that you specify a long enough key length. Then we'll enable it as a transport protocol on the VTY line, the virtual terminal line. the telnet line, the SSH line in this case. Remote access to a router, iOS uses the VTY lines related to the protocols such as telnet and SSH. Settings specified in the VTY line apply to session requests on any of the router interfaces, any of the IP addresses that we go to. We can connect to the IP address, but then we can manage the data transfer, I guess, or the signal transfer, the keyboard, the keyboard stroke transfers through the applying an access control list to the VTY line. So the settings specified on a VTY line apply to every interface that we could connect to. If we had, 3 interfaces, 3 IP addresses, it would apply to all of them, because what we're doing is filtering on the service and not these. Timeout value is the VTY settings. The timeout value, one of the things that we want to configure, it's going to specify minutes and seconds, how long it's going to be if we walk away from the terminal, how long it's going to be before it times out, breaks the session or locks the session, so that somebody can't walk in, you get called away on an emergency. Those things happen. You get to doing work and somebody calls, I got a really big problem, I need you to come help me immediately, and you go help them immediately, forget to close your session. Somebody walks by and they start doing whatever location, or the Saturday morning where you telnet or SSH into the system to reset the boss's password, and your teenager comes by and the session's still running and sits down at the computer and starts doing whatever they're going to be doing. Different things, but the timeout value, how long, just like timing out on a machine, how long if you walk away from it, how long are you going to wait before it times out, locks the system. The password, the combination of a password and login commands requires the generic user initiating the virtual session to the router. So the VTY settings that we can configure, typically we're going to have the password and the timeout value. The login banner is something that, and let me get one up. I think that I'll do the slide here, but I want to do one first, just so that it kind of hopefully makes sense with the terminology. You may have already done this before, done this multiple times, sometimes no times. And again, here we're going in, and this has got the correct one, and we'll say no here. We'll say enable config T. And then let's do banner, and there are actually message of the day and login are the only ones that I can do in Packet Tracer. There's also an exec banner that is designed to give information to authorized users once they get a privileged exec mode. But if we want to configure this thing, and we'll do both of them, banner login, and then it says C, where C is the delimiting character. The delimiting character is the start of the text that is going to be in the banner itself. Instead of using an alphabet letter, here the C, the lowercase c, I recommend that you use a special character, and I'll use the £sign here. What that says is, hey, I'm starting the banner. This is my login banner. And I can do a second line, this too. And then we can go in and maybe do something like this gets attention. The different kind of configurations that you can use on this thing. The delimiting character says this is the start of the banner. The next time the delimiting character is typed, says this is the end of the banner. So let's go into here, disable and log out, and then anyway, we haven't applied anything yet. Let's do the message of the day and see if it's going to do. Maybe it's just going to be mad at me today. Banner, N-E-R-M-O-T-D, and banner message of the day, incomplete command. So the next thing we need to do is our delimiting character. So we'll do the £sign again. This is and I think that I didn't get the login banner done. This is the of the day, line 2. Now let's see if we can then do the delimiting character again. Okay, this is the banner of the day, line 2, better looking. So you can do different formatting. The key to this thing is be careful about the about the delimiting character. Delimiting character start and ending of the banner. If you used the characters like they talked about, the C, the next time you type the C, it's going to say, hey, this just ended. I think I messed up. And now the same character that starts it, ends it. So I guess a packet tracer here is not going to do that, but you can do the banner of the day, and as I recall, the message of the day, it has some issues with some of the banners that you're actually programmed into the system. Simple text message that appear on the screen for the user, 3 types. The message of the day before the login prompt. It's used for the messages that are going to frequently change. Required for a temporary period. The message of the day could be, note that route array will be down for maintenance at midnight. Whatever message you want to send. A login banner before the login prompt, after the message of the day, used for displaying messages such as unauthorized access is strictly prohibited. The login banner should have verbiage that will allow you to enforce it, make it enforceable, so that you can prosecute somebody based on the verbiage. It's not welcome to our network or will be prosecuted to the greatest extent of the law. There are a number of them that are available that you can find around on the internet, but you need to be real specific about what you're doing with these things so that they can be prosecuted. There was, and this was a lot of years ago, the reason you want to do this, a lot of years ago, there was an individual that got onto a network, hacked the network, did a lot of damage to the network. Company took the hacker to court. Hacker won. His contention was you didn't have anything effective in the login banner. It said, welcome to our network. It didn't say don't hack our network. It said, welcome to our network. So I figured I could do whatever I want. The login banner should have words that make it enforceable and no question that you're going to prosecute these individuals. The exec banner after the login prompt, display information is intended for authorized users. This would be a message that would be available after the users logged into the network. We can configure multiple banners on a router or a switch. You can configure all 3 of them, or you can configure one of them, whatever you need, whatever you think you need in your structure. The banner global configuration command, the 3 types of logins. The banner will be the first parameter here. Let's see, enable, configure terminal, banner, login, configured here. MOTD is the default for these things. The first non-blank character specified after the banner type is going to be considered the beginning delimiter character. The banner can span several text lines, banner text several lines. We did that. Enter key will denote the end of each line. The text between 2 delimiter characters will be the banner text. So the delimiter to start it, the delimiter, and all of the text in between is going to be what shows up as the banner itself. The commands, the SSH labs, we got some labs